What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Horrorheads podcast. I am Rich Mallery, here with my co-host, Jerry Lourenco.
How the fuck y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty fucking good, if you ask me that. It's a beautiful day here in LA. It's about 100 degrees right now. Actually, that's what it feels like. Yeah, it's brutally hot. So we're going to talk about some new movies today. I'm super excited. We're going to talk about Longlegs later in the program. We're going to talk about M Night Shyamalan's movie Trap. But before we get into all of that, we do have a special guest today. We are joined today by Kasper Meltedhair, who is has a new movie that she wrote and directed called Busted Babies that is playing theatrically across the country right now. So Kasper, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So those of you who can't see video right now because you're listening to us audio-wise, Kasper is in a car because they live in the mountains and there's not a good internet connection there. So they are sitting comfortably, it looks like, in a car. So
very cozy.
it does look cozy. Although it's interesting you chose the driver's seat because whenever I sit in the car, I sit in the passenger seat because I can stretch out a little bit. I also have long legs. So Kasper, yeah, thank you for coming on. I'm super excited to talk about your movie. I think we definitely want to get to know you a little bit before we kind of dive into that. Yeah, I mean, just tell us a little bit about yourself, like what got you into filmmaking and movies and things like that, and then we'll kind of get into it. Sound good?
Oh man, really, I'm just a musician. And so I'm 32 now, but when I was 16, I started collecting rare VHS and stuff. And literally just one of my friends called me one day and was like, do you want to be in a Donald Farmer movie? And I was like, there's no way you're talking about the same Donald Farmer whose tapes I'm saving up money to try to get. There's no way he's still making movies, but yeah, he is. And so I said, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And I just showed up and had a role, and yeah.
What was that movie?
That was Cannibal Cop. That was my first real interaction, being in movies and stuff like that. And then I met Donald, and right away we just got along so well. We're best friends now. We got along so well. He was like, we should do a movie together, and we should write it together and just hang out a bunch. And I spent 2 weeks at his house, and we wrote Hooker with a Hacksaw, and then we filmed that. That was my first lead role. So that was insane.
How so? What was it the shoot crazy? Was just the role crazy, or just the experience in general?
Just having a lead role, because I never really wanted to be in movies. I never thought I would be in movies, but he was like, we should do this. And I was like, I'm not gonna not. So yeah, it's just turned into a different life for sure.
And so again, getting back to Kasper in the car right now, Kasper is not drinking, luckily, because they do have to drive back. However, since Jerry and I are parked comfortably in our houses, we are actually going to do a little drinking. I have something called Wheelhouse Bourbon, which is 101 proof, which, yeah, I didn't realize when I chose this, I'm actually going out to see Alien in 2 hours, and I'm going to have to drive at some point. So I might just have to Uber there. So I'm going to pour this it's Wheel Horse. I don't know if I said house. Wheel Horse. I'm pouring it. Original sour mash. I'm going to sip it. What do you got there, Jerry?
That's awesome. And I mean, I could just go outside to my car and sit in there if that makes everyone comfortable. It's really up to, anyone else. I don't care. And I'll bring my bourbon as well. I think the neighbors will be okay. But tonight I got a classic here. So I don't know if you can see it. I got some Maker's Mark French oats.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's French oak 46, 94 proof, and it's some oak staves that are put into the barrel really a couple months before the bourbon is done, and it kind of adds a sweet burnt taste to it. So I am going to give this a sip and let you guys know if I taste any of that or if it just tastes like alcohol.
What is a stave? I have no idea what a stave is.
Stave is a piece of wood.
Okay.
It's like a burnt piece of wood. It's like the barrel thing. It's like the parts of the barrel, the staves, and you put the ring around it and makes the barrel. So it's actually the wooden part. But yeah, so I'm gonna have a sip. I think I'm just gonna have a sip. I'm gonna cheers to Kasper right now. And yeah, we'll talk about it for a second. So cheers.
Yeah, cheers to Kasper and Busted Babies. Damn, okay, so this is it says it's sour mash, and I was expecting it to taste like Jack Daniels, but it does not. It tastes kind of I say this a lot, it tastes like a bullet. It's all right, not my favorite thing. It is strong, though. It's got a kick, that 101 proof, man. It's gonna be a long night. All right.
Yeah, I mean, this has that, it does actually have a nice sweet taste to it, kind of maybe like a syrupy kind of taste, and I'm getting a little bit of that char. I think it's really nice. I've been drinking this. This is probably my third or fourth bottle of this exact type, and it's moving up to become one of my favorite bourbons. So I'm really enjoying this. So I have nowhere to go later. So I'm just gonna keep drinking this bourbon. So
Nice.
So Casper, you said you had some bourbon facts for us, or just an anecdote that you wanted to share?
Not really facts, but in my hometown, there's like two major distilleries. And then all my surrounding towns, there's distilleries. Like I live on the bourbon, well, I don't live on the Bourbon Trail now, but I
oh,
grew up on the Bourbon Trail and like worked at distilleries. And yeah, bourbon's a big part of who I am, I feel like.
that's amazing. Had no idea you're from Kentucky.
Yeah,
I guess I'm kind of hearing a little bit of an accent now.
yeah,
All right, so this is what we're gonna have to do. You got to come back on and drink bourbon with us,
yeah,
and we'll have a very Kentucky focused episode. That way you could get a chance to drink along with us. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
yeah, totally. I grew up smelling wild turkey and
Ooh.
Four Roses, and I worked at Woodford Reserve for a while.
Get out of here.
And yeah, it was super awesome.
Yeah, I know Jerry and I always talk about taking a trip there. Yeah, we always talk about taking a trip and going, and we were actually going to, and then we had to cancel for some reason, and the pandemic happened, and then oh
COVID
man.
happened, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn it. Yeah, we have to get there, and you're definitely mentioning a lot of our favorites, especially wild turkey. That's definitely one of the top ones for us. So
Yeah, I drink wild turkey the most because I grew up like 2 roads down from it.
Yeah, the Wild Turkey
Yeah,
101, like we're always drinking that.
yeah, that's the last thing I had.
Nice. So yeah, so okay, so we start off saying like you're kind of on tour promoting Busted Babies and going all over the place. I think I saw that you're going to be in LA this week. Is that true?
Yeah, that's the very last date of our tour. Yeah, we're ending in LA, and I'm so excited because I've never been there. I've been like everywhere except LA. So that's Friday. So I'm very excited. Yeah, it's playing at Whammy on Sunset Boulevard.
Is that like a record store? I've actually don't know what that is.
It's a video store, and this month they're having an SOV fest. So they're playing an SOV movie every night of the month, I think. I think the filmmakers are at each screening, but not sure. But I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be at the Busted showing.
Oh, that's awesome. I might try to check that out if I can get done with work early on Friday. I'm like editing a movie right now, so like it's been like I'm trying to finish it, and if I'm done by then, I will totally stop by.
Hell yeah.
that's awesome. And I think it's so cool. Before you kind of mentioned that you were a musician, and you know what, when you first told me, for everyone who doesn't know, we kind of met on social media, and we kind of discussing, the type of films that you were making, and I realized that you're just like don't give a fuck about the type. You make some crazy shit, and you like throw out all conventions. I'm like, I feel like this is a different type of filmmaker. And the first thing I thought, I'm like, I wonder if you're a musician, and the fact that you made your movie, and then what do? You basically just kind of get out there, get on the road, and start showing it. And that's like such a musician mentality. And I was like, man, I'm like, are you from like the punk kind of hardcore world? Is that the type of music that you were kind of messing around with, or was it different? Because it feels like so punk just to like, put something together and just get out there and show it.
Oh man. Well, seriously, like the whole tour idea and setup and everything was all Bruce. I never would have thought to like tour for like showing a movie, but that's what everyone says. They're like, geez, a 14 city tour, like that's just like what bands do. And yeah, it feels like it. It's like a lot easier, but it's definitely like long hours in the car. And but I've never, with music, I've never toured. I did like hop on with David Lee Bahart at one point. I opened for him a little bit, and went to like a lot of his shows, but I've never like done like a music tour yet. I'm definitely going to do a lot next year.
That's awesome. I mean, you're doing it now. I mean, like this film is taking you around the US. It's helping you tour. I mean, it's doing everything. So, I mean, it's like really opening some awesome doors for you. So, whoever doesn't know, Bruce is actually the producer of this film, and he's from like Bloodsick Productions. And I had some time to speak to him a little bit over the last few weeks as I got to know him and Casper, and they're both very cool people. So maybe we get Bruce on here one day as well. I know he has a lot of stuff going on as well. He said he was boring though, Casper, and that we should have you.
not boring.
So how is the tour going? Like, what is, are you getting some wild crowds? Like, what's happening? Anything crazy happen? Any stories
So
from being on the road, or what's going on out there?
yeah, I mean it's basically over now. There's just LA left, but Philomoka was definitely the biggest, craziest crowd in Philadelphia. It was sold out, and then there was people standing up everywhere, and it was just so amazing. There were a few shows that didn't really turn out because so we had a show in Tampa and a show in Savannah, and the day we got into Tampa there was like a hurricane,
Oh wow.
and so luckily, Joel Weinkoop came and I got to meet him, and a couple other people came, but yeah, it was like 4 people total, and we drove all the way down there, which is it's like just like meeting those people and the interactions was totally a million times worth it. But yeah, then waking up and like driving out of the hurricane, and then we went to Savannah, and the hurricane followed us there and killed our crowd there at Grayface. So there was like 3 people there, but it was still an awesome experience. And then yeah, we played a lot of other shows, and really like my mind was just blown because I assumed like half the audience would like my movie and half wouldn't at most of the shows, but really it was like 90, it seemed like 99% like like good good energy. People were getting it and enjoying it. I was really shocked. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing to get like that positive feedback. And Rich and I used to be in bands back in the day, and we used to do some touring. We know exactly what it's like to drive like 6, 7 hours, and there's like
Yeah.
4 or 5 people there. But
Yeah.
if they're feeling it and you're getting that energy, it doesn't matter. It totally makes it worth it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't a
Well,
hurricane, but so the very first film I directed, Sociopathia, like it got into my first film festival ever. I was super excited. It was in Tampa. I think it was like the Tampa Bay Underground Film Festival. And they put us on at midnight, and I was like, cool, it's a midnight movie. That's
mm,
perfect. And it was the kind of festival where like everybody left at like 10 o'clock. And I think there might have been two
Yeah.
people. There might have been 2 people in the theater, and like the sound was awful. And I'm like, I flew all the way down here for this. But I was like, you know what? Still, I get to see my movie in the theater, and like I'm with 2 people, and whether they like it or not, it's still a cool experience. So I don't have weather to blame. I just have myself, but
Yeah.
you know.
So, I mean, yeah, my movie, like I edited it, and then the very last few bits, I was just so sick of sitting on the computer, so I asked Bruce to just finish editing. But through all the editing and then watching it after that, and like I loved my movie, but not it wasn't until I saw it on the big screen that I was like just in total like shock of myself. Like it just felt more complete, and more real. Like, yeah, it's a great feeling.
Yeah, I think that's what I do it for, just to
Yeah.
see it with people like one time. That's all I care about. Like get that one time to
Yeah.
watch it with people, and it's all worth it. Because you're right, you see
Yeah.
it through different eyes now. It's like because you're seeing people like get into it and get the like little things that you might think nobody's gonna notice, and that's super cool. So you're doing like Q&As after. What are some like I'm imagining you get some bizarre questions. Like what's like a bizarre question that comes to mind that someone might have asked?
No, they've all been pretty not bizarre, I guess. The only surprising kind of question I got was if the because we've been bringing the baby prop with us on tour everywhere, and so someone asked like if the baby was for sale. I was like, oh, I didn't think about that, but that was interesting.
Maybe the last day of the tour. Maybe in LA,
Yeah.
maybe in LA you'll sell it,
if the price
autograph
is
it and
right.
sell it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the tour. Tell us about the movie, because I don't think if people like it's a bizarre and very different movie, not just in the storytelling aspect of it, but just in the way it was shot and put together. So like in your own words, like tell us a little bit about Busted Babies and why like you're so passionate about it, and kind of like where your inspiration was coming from it.
Well, first of all, I'll say that like that's why, like I said, I was so shocked that like so many people are liking it. And I figured like a lot of people wouldn't, is because to a lot of people I feel like it could seem like a incomplete movie and like a terrible movie, but like it's on purpose. Like I wanted there to be typical elements that are just dissolved and like don't exist, and like just like mystery and like confusion. Like that was my goal, was to confuse people and like have people like wonder like what is going on, like what's gonna happen. And a lot of people have told me like that's what was going on for them. So yeah. So yeah, with me with art, I just have to make art every day, all day. And so with me, it's always like trying to use my subconscious to like surprise myself and like bring out new things that don't remind me of anything else. So yeah, when I was writing it, really what happened was Bruce was like, okay, so he made Bloodsick Psychosis, and then he made A Corpse for Christmas, and he emailed me and asked me to star in A Corpse for Christmas, and that's how we met, and we had a great time. So a year later, he was like, I'm gonna make another movie in January, but what if like you wrote a movie and we made two movies at the same time, like using the same crew and everything, like back to back? And I was just like shocked, like, thank you for like thinking of me like that, like, and believing in me. So yeah, he was like, yeah, do you want to like make a movie with me? And so I was so excited. I was like, yes, yes, yes. So at the time, I'm a real weirdo. I was like living out in the woods, like in Florida. I'm like a big nature person, and I'll just like nomad and like get rid of everything I own and just like live in the woods. But so I was living in the woods in Florida, and I just like wrote down like 16 movie ideas just straight out. Like when I make art, that's the trick of making art, is like don't think, just like do. So I just like wrote these 16 ideas without thinking, and then I like narrowed them down, and then I showed Bruce, and he was like, what if we combine these like two or three? And I was like, yeah, that's such a good idea. So then I wrote out the whole movie in like one night. I just wrote it without thinking, like stream of consciousness. And then when I was done, I connected like a couple little things. And then I spent like a week on the dialogue. So yeah, I wrote it really fast, and I never thought I would make a movie. I never thought I would have the opportunity. I never thought I would have enough. Never thought I would like, have like enough friends to make a movie with. Like he just asked me, and I was like, fuck yes. And I wrote it. And
Hell
then,
yeah.
so that was in December in Florida, and it was starting to get pretty cold. So I came back up to Kentucky, got a place, got ready for like a week, and then went to Philly and filmed it in 4 days.
I mean, that's awesome. What was the choice to kind of film it on like not digitally and kind of do it analog and VHS? I mean, I loved it. It really brought me back. It was a lot of nostalgia. I mean, when I know I was putting in like a Blu-ray, but as soon as I put it in, I was like transported into like when I was a little kid, and I was sneaking away downstairs, and I was like watching like, some film that I like borrowed from my friend that I probably wasn't supposed to watch. And it just totally brought me back with the morphing sound. The screen is a little blurry, you have to adjust the tracking. I mean, I loved it, but what was that choice? Because for some reason I feel like that would be more difficult than just doing it kind of digitally.
So that was another magical thing with Bruce, is he's shot all of his movies so far on VHS.
Oh, wow.
And that's the only thing I always thought, like any video art I ever make, I just want it to be on VHS, which isn't true because I've done like stop motion shorts that are digital. But yeah, VHS seems very daunting and overwhelming and tricky. It's really not. It's not as dependable, at nearly as dependable, but it's totally worth it. And then you can always like rip the tapes to digital, and we edited that way, so it's much easier. But just aesthetically, so VHS means a lot to me, because my first memory, like being alive, my first memory as a kid was like the intro of Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, hell yeah.
And yeah, so my dad was just completely obsessed with horror movies, so I went to the video shop with him in the early 90s like every week of my life. So yeah, I was allowed to watch the scariest horror stuff when I was like a baby. Like I just grew up on it. Yeah, and then I started collecting VHS when I was 16. And then it got really, really, really popular when I stopped collecting, which I regret. Literally could have bought a house with my collection if I would have waited like 5 more years. But VHS is the best.
Damn, I'm jealous again because we have another person here where their parent was pro horror and they got to enjoy that experience of watching these types of films with their parents.
Yeah.
And I never got to. I know Rich is lucky enough, and a few of our guests that have been on in the past, they're lucky enough. I never do it, but that's awesome that your father kind of led you down like the right path and helped you get on like the right genre. And honestly, like looking at like that, that 4x3 kind of imagery. It's like, that square box on my screen. It does bring you back, and it does kind of remind you of like, back in the day when you had like that little like 16-inch TV in your room. I mean, that was awesome. So yeah, it really brought me back.
Yeah, it's cool too because yeah, I edited digitally on the laptop and then on tour, saw it on a bunch of big screens. But then finally when I got home, my husband and my best friend hadn't seen the movie yet. So, and Bruce was staying the night with us that night before he went home. And so we watched the VHS of Busted Babies on an old small TV, and it looks so good. Like, I wish everyone could watch it on VHS on a small TV because it really fits it so well.
That's awesome. And so I was going to ask you, this was actually one of my questions, but you kind of mentioned it earlier that you did film it in Philly. It's like I saw some like buildings and I saw like that train line. I was like, oh, I feel like this is Philly. But how'd you capture like all those shots? Did you just do like guerrilla style and run around with like cameras and just film? Like, what mall was that? Where did you get a lot of your footage? Because if you shot in 4 days, I don't think you had all the right permits needed to do so. So he just said fuck it, and he just like grabbed whatever you could and just film. How'd you approach that?
I didn't do camera. Michael from Bloodsick, he was the camera guy. And then so Bruce is an excellent filmmaker because he does extremely tight film schedules. So he'll be like, we're gonna film this location, these scenes, this location at this time, and then we have to be at this location by this time and film these scenes. Like, I'm not used to that. I'm used to way more laid back, spread out filmmaking. But I wrote the movie and then he was like, well, let me know specifically what kind of locations you need and I'll try to figure it out. And I gave him like a crazy list and I was like, I'm sorry the list is so crazy, especially like since you're in the middle of a city. But he just has a lot of friends and it really worked out. We got a construction site, we got a salon, a really crazy 2-story salon, a movie theater. Yeah, like so many. Also, actually, so we filmed in Philly for 4 days, but then everyone literally had such a good time making the movie. We had a sound crew, light crew, all the actors, makeup, like we had a big crew. But okay, so everyone had such a good time that the very last night of filming, I was really drunk and I was like, it would be so funny if we made like a Busted Babies fake TV pilot. If we all went to Brent's house in Miami and filmed it. And everyone was like, okay, let's do that. And I was like, what? So Brent, he's one of the actors in the movie. A bunch of us ended up flying down to Miami a month later.
Wow.
So, but Brent ended up, he got tied up with some work and he wasn't able to film with us. So we just really went guerrilla style in Fort Lauderdale. And so there's scenes in this amazing swap shop that looks like a neon mall halfway abandoned from the 80s. It's so awesome. But yeah, I did camera there at that location and that was so fun. And we also filmed on the beach. So it's like a really crazy contrast in the movie, like winter and snow in Philly, and then also like on the beach in Miami. I love that.
That's what's great
Yeah,
about
definitely.
being a filmmaker not in LA. Because in LA, it's so difficult to find people to like do spontaneous stuff or to find locations like that. Everywhere else, people get so excited, like actually get excited about like the process of filmmaking versus here, everybody's like it's a gig. So like I am jealous all the time of people from like
Yeah,
not from here that are like doing it because I'm like, wow, like you can actually get really awesome locations or people to work like do crazy things like where you can out here as easily. So
yeah.
like that's awesome.
And you never know because like at that swap shop in Fort Lauderdale, so we walk in and we just, do what zero budget filmmakers usually do, and we're like, let's just start filming and hopefully we get everything filmed before we get kicked out or usually you don't get kicked out. But we went in there and this guy, he was wearing like crazy gear by choice. I mean, he worked there, he did security, but like he was wearing like bulletproof vests, like cargo pants, all this crazy stuff. And he had like I don't remember if he had a gun or not. I don't know, but it was crazy. And he walked up to us and he's like, "What are you doing? You can't film in here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." Okay. And then I like put the camera down kind of. And then I just told two of my actors, I was like, just walk upstairs real quick. Because there was there's this neon sign that said clown things, and it had like there was nothing around it that had anything to do with anything. So I was like, I just have to film them walking up this insane circusy staircase with this sign. So they did, and I just filmed them. But when we got up there, there was like a manager, and so I forget if it was me or Bruce, but we just asked. We were like, "Can we film some stuff in here just for like our own stuff?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course, film whatever you want." So if we had listened to that first guy, we would have just left and been scared away. So you never know.
Shoot it. Yeah, I remember that scene. And I was gonna say some of my favorite scenes were definitely like that barbecue salon. I thought that footage looked so great and so fun. And I loved, all the actors and the interaction and the dialogue that was kind of going on in those scenes. It was crazy. And that's where the first baby is busted. And that was pretty awesome. And Casper, I'm gonna say I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping there was gonna be a lot of babies
Yeah,
exploding.
you're not the first person to say that.
So, because I did enjoy it. And that's the only reason I'm saying is because I enjoyed it and all that gooey kind of like slime and stuff like that. I mean, it looked so cool. And I was like, damn, look at that. It was awesome.
Yeah, there's not actually like multiple babies being busted in the movie. There's only one baby that you see busted, but I do have like a crib that had multiple previously busted babies.
Yes, you didn't show inside the crib though, right? I
A
remember
little, a
kind of.
tiny
Oh,
bit,
okay.
but yeah.
Yeah, I do remember looking to see. I'm like, is there going to be some busted babies in there, or are they just regular babies? I definitely want to talk about like the dialogue a bit. So if
Yeah.
anyone's gonna watch this film or if anyone's seen it, I've watched it a few times already, and it's like obviously one line doesn't necessarily have to reflect like what the next line is going to be out of the actor, and the words sometimes chosen may be the opposite of what you expect, or it may not make any sense at all. So I want to say, like, how difficult, one, was it to write it, and then two, for the actors to kind of like deliver it in the way that you wanted? Because, like, if someone's asking you a question, your human nature is just to give that response, but the responses necessarily didn't like reflect the question. So was that difficult? Do you feel like there's a lot of takes involved, or did it just kind of like come out naturally and you just kind of went with like what happened, or give them some kind of artistic license to do what they felt? How'd you approach that?
I wrote it like stream of consciousness without really thinking about it. And the dialogue, a lot of the dialogue was very hard for the actors. It was so funny because they're almost like some of the lines are almost like tongue twisters. So like some of the actors would accidentally like set like totally just like mix up the line or like add in like different words that would crack everybody up. It was so fun. But yeah, I felt bad too because my main actress, who I had set for like a couple months, she quit the first day just for her own like emotional, I don't know. She quit the first day. And so I had to like find someone. We were on that tight schedule, Bruce does tight schedules. So I was like trying to find someone who's willing to do all these weird things, say all these weird things, look weird, have the next 4 or 3 days off work. And like, it's just totally insane. Like Bruce's roommate took the role, Erin, and she's like so magical, so perfect for the role. And but I felt so bad because like she was like reading the script basically for the first time and like having to do the lines. So it was really hard, but she did a very great job. Yeah.
So she played movie star, right? That's who you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that was crazy, and she was definitely had quite an impact in the film, and
Yeah.
yeah, I could imagine reading that script that just like I have to say what.
Yeah.
How much of it was scripted versus like improv was?
Oh, that is such a good question. I wish more people had asked that on tour because, okay, I think all of it was scripted except Clandestino, aka Josh Christensen. He did a few of his own lines, and then Brett Grant, he played video game. His two improv scenes, he did though. He just did those improv. His two big dialogue scenes. So at the end of the movie where he's sitting on the ledge and he's flipping out, saying all that stuff and beats the shit out of himself, he just did all that on improv. No preparation, no pre-thinking.
So you shot the whole thing in 4 days. So I'm assuming there probably wasn't much footage like you cut out, right? Like, or do you have like extra scenes and stuff?
There might be one or two little deleted things, but we used basically all of it. I did film 2 scenes at my house as well. So there's 4 days in Philly, 2 days in Fort Lauderdale, and then 1 day at my house in Kentucky. There's a whole lot that was in the script that's missing from the movie because I had a lot. I mean, this was my first movie, so I learned a lot, but a lot went wrong with it. During the making of it. The main actress quit the first day. But then also my special effects guy, it was very weird because I've worked with him many times before and we were like really good friends, and he is a genius and a very hardworking guy. But I don't know what happened, but we got to Philly and like when it came time for him to do his job, he was just like, "So what do I do?" And I'm like, what? Like, we're on a schedule here and we've had many meetings, and like it was weird. I ended up literally having to like rewrite, redesign, and like redo some of the deaths and effects like on the spot because he just like wasn't doing his job. So yeah, there were supposed to be like 6 more deaths in the movie and like 2 other scenes that I just could not pull off without him. So yeah.
I know the feeling. That's crushing. Like, just there's certain things you just can't get to. That's just how it is, right? You can't get to everything because there's always something on these things that goes wrong. Whether, like you said, it's a person that quits, someone's like fucking around, like if one person like doesn't remember their lines, it's like it screws everything up. So it's like
Yeah.
you got to spend more
Yeah.
time on, especially when you're doing like effects too. Like that always gets fucked up somehow. So like I totally feel your pain, man.
So because there were like 6 missing deaths, yeah, the bubblegum death in my movie, I ended up just like filming that at home. I just wrote that and filmed it at home because I was like, I need more deaths because like so much is missing. But yeah.
How much gum did you use for that? Because it looked like a ridiculous amount of gum.
It's not gum. I've been like a fetish model since I was 18, but the fetish that I make videos of is like just like messy stuff. Like mostly like slime, like all different kinds of like slime or like being pied in the face, like slapsticky stuff, whatever. But yeah, one like my signature thing that I do that a lot of people said, I don't know if people do it now, but when I started, a lot of people didn't do it, was just like melted marshmallow and like mixing melted marshmallow with different things. So I know how to make a lot of weird gum, fake gum and slime and all that good stuff. So yeah, it was just mostly melted marshmallow, maybe some corn syrup and color. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm kind of glad you said that though, because I did have this question here. I didn't know we'd ever like get to something like that, but I feel like maybe in this film you were exploring a few kinks. Like I kind of saw like a lot of close up on like feet and like some of that, kind of like slime play and things like that. So I didn't know if that was just intentional or if I was like imagining things, but it feels like maybe it's a past influence kind of like creeping into the film. Was it intentional or is it just me?
I see why you watched it 3 times. Yeah, you freak.
I just rewound the same parts.
It just like it all kind of like blends in together. But with the feet, okay, what's so funny is like they're okay, like I never made a movie before, so like when I was directing, I was realizing like I need to fill in these little gaps of like movement and like filling space and like different things like that. So I was just kind of picking a few random things like on the spot to do. And the foot thing, like I did it once and like in my head, I'm like, that's just like a random, weird, funny body part that's like not typical. Like I'm not grabbing your boob. I'm like, it's like foot, whatever. But like I know that's like a very common kink and like I'm into that too, whatever. But yeah, like it's just there's infinite ways to see everything. So it's I didn't intentionally be like, oh, this will like this I'm gonna put this kink in here or this will build an audience or it just all blends in together. It just all works together.
Yeah, you're basically looking at the overall picture and the final
Yeah.
product. Totally get what you're saying, and kind of think about what you were just saying about like some of your techniques and stuff. So I'm a little bit familiar with Donald Farmer, and probably not to the extent that you are. And I know he's in this film, and I did kind of see some influence. And again, it's probably from you like watching those films from you younger, but kind of like those like really close kind of like shots that are like almost like right in your face, and then like those really really distant shots that kind of like end up zooming in and into a blur and stuff like that. Do you feel like you kind of let some of that Donald Farmer in, or is just again you didn't think of it, just it's just kind of like those outside kind of influences working their way in?
Oh, well, Donald's one of my best friends. And yeah, I got into film because of him. And I worked with him more than anyone. And yeah, I've learned about filmmaking through him. Also through Bruce, but mostly through Donald. Because yeah, we've done a lot of movies together. And I've spent weeks and weeks and weeks at his house. And I'm actually making a documentary about Donald that I'm trying to finish by January or at the end
It's
of
awesome.
January. Yeah, because he is the most, in my opinion, he's the most inspiring filmmaker ever because he has no money. He literally just has a dream and then makes it happen with like no effort. He's so pure. That's why his movies are so funny and they're so off the wall and they're so memorable, is because he doesn't try to be like anyone. He just, yeah, it's like me too. It's like how I do it too. It's like stream of consciousness. Just like, I have this idea, I'm gonna put it out there. It doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be brand new. As long as it's a part of you and you're like getting it out, it like comes together and people see that and appreciate that, which is insane. Donald is very inspiring and he does not give a fuck about anything. He'll just have an idea. He doesn't care. Like literally, when we were filming either Hooker with a Hacksaw or Cannibal Hookers, but we were at this flea market in a food court that was it was the tiniest food court you've seen in your entire life. It was as big as like two of my cars. And there was like some kids and their moms like eating food. And Donald flips out the script and he's like, okay, Kasper, Colleen, like go over the script. Let's like go over it so we can film real quick. And it's all about cannibalism and like hookers and like all, and we're like, we're not gonna talk about this in like 2 feet away from these things. Like, no, that's not cool. And Donald's like, okay, well, anyways, if you just want to go over the script real quick, then it's not that he's an asshole. He's just like, who cares? Like, I want to do this. Let's just do it. Like, everything's fine. And it always is. It's so funny. Like, also in Hooker with a Hacksaw, literally, he handed me some props, and I think one of them was a hacksaw. And he's like, here, just go into Party City and I'll just follow you and we'll film stuff.
Oh my
I
God,
love
that's
that.
awesome.
So yeah, we go in there and film the scene, and Donald walks out, and I'm about to walk out, and I run over to the cash register, and I'm like, just to let you guys know, I'm not stealing this stuff. I brought these props in with me. He's so funny.
I mean that's awesome, and it's probably a little more acceptable now. A lot of like influencers and people like that are always like walking into like like stores and public places and just filming. So at least you could get away with it a little bit more now.
A
But
little bit,
sure,
yeah.
like in the '90s and stuff like that, he probably ran into some problems. So
Well, Jerry, you
one of
worked
the
at Party City in the 90s, right? What would you do if
I
Casper
did.
walked in with a hacksaw?
I would, I, I was like the worst employee in the world, so I was probably just kind of like in the back anyway, hiding out. But yeah, I
You're probably
stole a
high in the
lot. I'm
back, yeah.
sorry. I was a thief. I apologize.
Probably
But
drinking 40s in the warehouse and not actually at the front.
so on the Blu-ray, there is a short called Rolf Kanker, which is like an animation, and it's stop motion. So I was just curious, like really how you got into, that type of medium. It just seems like really like tedious and like oh my God, like it probably takes like hours to like film like 30 seconds. So that seems a little like mind-boggling to me. So how'd you get into it? And like was that your first attempt at it? Because it came out awesome.
I love your question so much. As far as art goes, number one for me is making music. Number two is stop motion. Those are my
Mm.
two favorite things to do in the whole world. I got into stop motion by my husband. My husband was my favorite artist for 6 years, and then we started talking a lot, and then we got married really fast. his name is Andy Heck Boyd, and he, in my opinion, as far as I know, he's made more art than anybody ever. He's made like thousands of comic books, thousands of paintings, thousands of books, thousands of VHS random art films, like thousands of cassette tapes of all different kinds of audio art. He is like the most original art machine ever. Oh my gosh, everybody check him out. But anyway, so he does stop motion because he does every kind of art ever. And I was watching him do it, and there's like programs on iPhones that make it so easy. So yeah, you just set up your phone, and it is the most tedious form of art ever. But yeah, you set up your phone, and then and yeah, you move the object like the tiniest fucking bit you possibly can, and it's still not tiny enough. I get so excited thinking about it. It's like my favorite kind of art making, and so for so many reasons. Like, for one, it makes you physically do these bizarre things. So like if someone filmed you doing it, you're gonna look insane because you're just like doing these weird things over and over and over. That's really fun. Also, like, I don't have any fucking idea what I'm going to do or what it's going to look like or what it's going to be about. I just get items that I like how they look, and then I just want to like surprise myself. So I just start moving them a little. I just start moving it without thinking, and then just like keep going with it. And then I watch it at the end of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I like that. I like that a lot. And that's how you can get new ideas and like do weird things, is just doing it and doing what you and doing it by what feels good and what you like, and not thinking about if it is good or how it relates to anything.
I mean that's awesome, and I mean it came out great. So anyone who gets like the Blu-ray of Busted Babies, definitely check out, you know, that's the extra features. There was a model in there with a frying pan.
That
Was
was me.
that was you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was curious if that was you. That was awesome, and that was definitely like one of like the kind of like, it was like fun but kind of creepy at the same time
Yeah.
too. And I'm assuming that's probably like the mood that you were going for. And I was like, damn, this is awesome. So yeah, definitely
Yeah,
check that out.
it's like my huge dream to do like a full feature length stop motion movie with people. It'll be very, very, very hard to do, but I'm definitely going to try to do it.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take like 3 years to film, something like that. So, a lot of people are probably wondering, like, usually, during like these interviews, we really like dive in deep into like, you know, the films, and we dissect like basically every, you know, aspect of the film. And I want people to know that like Casper's film, it's a mood, and you really need to go in there and watch it as like a holistic thing. And that's really why we're not going to sit there and dissect like every single part of it. I think, you
Because
know,
that's
it's,
for the viewer to do.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, just start it from the beginning and watch it through. And then when you're done, watch it again. And then it'll just come to you. And I feel like, you know, I watched it a few times, and I'm like, you know what? It's like I get it, you know, I'm feeling this, you know, and every time I watch it, it's like I'm getting like a different like feeling from it. But sometimes I'm like laughing at it, and other times I'm like, man, this is evil as fuck. And then other times I'm like, you know, this is like twisted. And it's like, you know, it just really depends on like how you view it. This is really going to bring you back, and it's going to not only like challenge you for like, you know, what a film is, but really what the genre is. And I think you did a really great job, you know, with this film, and really looking forward to, you know, what you're doing next. So, do you want to give us like a heads up, like what's on the agenda? What are you doing next? What's the next film? What's happening?
Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. I think the next thing I'm working on is I'm writing a movie with Donald, and I'm gonna direct it, cast it, do the set design, basically do all of it. But Donald's mostly gonna write it. It's gonna be Witches on Wheels, a biker movie with witches.
I like
That's
Yeah.
that.
cool.
That
That
sounds
sounds dope.
fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. We're hoping to film in November, but I don't know if that'll get pushed back or not. So there's that. And then also my husband is making a shot on video movie right now. He's making two of them. And And then so my next movie that I've started buying like set design stuff, and I've started casting, but I'm not done writing it yet. It's going to be a very long movie. I'm making a Hansel and Gretel, but it's going to be like Appalachian themed, filmed in like the Appalachian Mountains. I grew up in like central Kentucky, but now I live so far in eastern Kentucky. I'm like 20 minutes from West Virginia. So it's so beautiful out here. So many cool, creepy. There's literally like at least 5 abandoned houses on every road. It's so crazy.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it's gonna be my own version of Hansel and Gretel. It's gonna be like super duper like futuristic hellscape meets like old fashioned fairy tale. So it's gonna be a very bizarre contrast of like extreme brutal futurism and then also like nature and stuff. And the story's really complicated and a lot different than like normal Hansel and Gretel. It has everything Hansel and Gretel has, but a lot extra. So yeah, I'm gonna film that next spring.
I really respect when people show me something I haven't seen before and do something completely different. And I give you a lot of credit because you definitely made something. I have never seen anything like this before. And again, you've seen so many movies over the years, and it was, you know, nice surprise to see something so different and so out there. If you were to like pretend you didn't make it and you were just seeing this movie and you had to describe it to somebody, like what would you kind of compare it to? Because I can't like I like loosely was thinking like, and I don't want to insult you, but like I was thinking like maybe like a multiple maniacs, but like on lots of acid. Like what would you compare this to?
I really don't know what to compare it to. All I could say is like my influences, which would be like Mike Diana and Nick Zed and Jodorowsky and Richard Corbin and also the movie Meet the Hollowheads. I don't know how that fucking movie went under the radar like it did, but that is one of the best movies.
What's your favorite Jodorowsky film? I'm a big fan. If you had to pick one.
If I had to, I would say Holy Mountain. Yeah. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. They're
Same.
all good though. I just bought his new book. He's the greatest guy ever.
Yeah, no, huge fan, huge fan. So, okay, so before we let you go, like, how can people, like, how can they watch and find Busted Babies? Like, can I buy the Blu-ray on like a website? Like, how do I track it down?
So the Blu-ray has been for sale since tour started. The VHS has been limited just for like the tour in person, but the tour is about to be over. So the Blu-ray and VHS will be available online next week. I forget the website. It's like I mean there's Bloodsick on Instagram. It's Bloodsick's website, and then there's links, and then or you can go to my Instagram, Kasper Melted, and I'm gonna have a link.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I hope you get back to your house safe because I know you're in the middle of the woods in a car. Safe travels to LA. Good luck with the last night of the tour. I'm super
Thank you
excited.
so
That's awesome.
much.
No, thanks
Anything
so
else,
much,
Jerry?
Kasper. Really appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. Like, not that I would.
Oh no. You're like, oh, these guys are gonna fucking suck.
Well, I just thought it would be kind of like a repeat of like Q&A on the tour, but your questions were different and they were very fun. Yeah, it was so fun. Thank you so much.
This is fun for us too. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and definitely next time you got to drink with us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, cool. So that was Kasper Meltedhair. Look out for her new film, Busted Babies. Always great to talk to a new filmmaker who has a very interesting voice and stories to tell. Now we're going to get into a more prolific filmmaker's film. We're going to talk about M Night Shyamalan's Trap. And I'll start right off the bat. I said this last episode. I'm definitely not a fan of M Night Shyamalan. I think I've seen probably most of his movies, but however, I think most of them I've turned off at the halfway point because the concepts always seem really cool, and then they kind of just like get boring, or they fall apart, or they're like there's like just something about it where I get turned off almost every time. And this one sounded really interesting to me. So Trap is about this man named Cooper who takes his daughter, his 12-year-old, I think she's like 12 or 13 or something like that, daughter Riley, to a concert to see her favorite musician, Lady Raven. And I kind of think they're kind of going after like a Taylor Swift kind of thing. And he takes his daughter to the concert. What we find out very early on is that Cooper is a serial killer known as the Butcher. And the concert was actually set up as a trap to catch him. They don't know who he is, but they know the killer is going to be at this concert. So basically the FBI and the SWAT teams all kind of have a plan hatched to catch this killer. Cooper finds out about it and tries to plan his escape to elude law enforcement, and that is Trap.
Again, kind of like what you just said about M Night Shyamalan, you know, his plots always sound like really thick and interesting, and then they kind of fall off. And to me, this plot sounds pretty interesting. But I'm glad you kind of said something just before that you watched like most of M Night Shyamalan's films, because I put together a little throwback drinking game. You
I was worried
know,
about this.
it's been a minute since we did this one, and I'm wondering if you remember it. We probably haven't done this in probably maybe episode 4 or 5. It's the old thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you remember that? It's the director thumbs up, thumbs down. And we're gonna do the same thing for Mr. M. Night Shyamalan. So we didn't get to drink like too much during Casper's segment because she was in a car. And
She's gone. Fuck it. Let's be maniacs.
yeah, now I'm ready to get my drink on. So just to kind of remind everyone, this is the thumbs up, thumbs down drinking game, and it's pretty simple. I'm gonna name some of M. Night Shyamalan's films. Rich is going to rate them really quickly, either thumbs up or thumbs down. Now, if he gives it a thumbs down or didn't see, I have to drink. And it's a bit of a problem. But if you look in the chat, Rich, I posted these movies into the chat. So then we're gonna flip it when you're done, and then it's going to go to me, and then I'll give my ratings. So we're gonna do this super quick, and that's the whole point of this game. So choose who you want to drink with if you think Rich is going to be positive or negative here, and I'm going to go through the names of the films here, and you give me a thumbs up and thumbs down. Are you ready, Rich?
You might want to pour a little more because I'm probably going to thumbs down every one of these, but let's do it. Fuck it.
There hasn't been a drinking game that worked out for me yet. Why would this be any different? But
okay, let's do it.
And these are all gonna have kind of like, you know, an eerie, spooky, or horror kind of like, it's not all of his films, it's just the ones I chose. So here we go. Ready? The Sixth Sense.
So I haven't seen it in a long time.
Talking too much. Thumbs up and thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Signs.
Down.
Oh, God. The Village.
Down.
Come on, man. You have to like one of these.
There's probably going to be none that I actually. Maybe there's one. There might be one.
All right. The Happening.
Never seen it. That was the Mark Wahlberg one, right?
Yeah, I think so. The Visit.
I never heard of that one.
Oh my God. There's a lot of these. Split.
Down. Thumbs down.
Oh my God.
And I wanted to like that one. It sounded cool and started out. They all start off good and then just fall apart.
For anyone who's keeping track, I just drank 6 in a row. Glass.
I don't think oh wait, I did see it. Thumbs down. I'm not a big comic book guy.
Old.
Totally thumbs down. That was awful. I didn't finish it.
Knock at the Cabin.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I'm gonna give it a generous thumbs up because if it does fall apart in the last 30 minutes, but I was interested and I did watch the whole thing.
And here comes a precursor. Trap.
Thumbs down. All right, so now I gotta ask you the same.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we're gonna see how it turns out. So if anyone wanted to keep track, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was I drank 9 out of a possible 10 sips. That was brutal.
M Night Shyamalan's like we named 10 movies, one of which I was like mediocre about, 9 of them that I couldn't stand. Okay, cool. All right, definitely. I really don't understand how he keeps making movies. Like I just want to understand who this audience is. None of them are good.
I mean, we're gonna dive into that in a minute, but if you want, let's get through the second half of this drinking game and see how it works out.
All right, I'm gonna all right, I'll do it again. Sixth Sense.
I'm gonna say thumbs up.
Okay. Oh, I drink for that, right? No, I don't drink.
You don't drink.
No one drinks. Okay. The Village.
Thumbs down.
Okay. The Visit.
Thumbs down.
Never heard of it. What is that about? Do you know?
I forgot. Who
cares?
Yeah.
Glass.
Didn't see it.
Knock at the Cabin. You said you
Oh.
hated it last episode.
Yeah, thumbs down.
Signs.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up.
Okay, that was the Alien one, right?
Yeah, I like Aliens. Yeah,
Yeah, I did too. The
yeah.
Happening.
I'm gonna go thumbs down.
Oof. Split.
I didn't see it. Take a sip.
Ugh, old.
I didn't see it.
You didn't miss anything. And all right, Trap.
Thumbs down.
Ugh. All right, so you liked, was it 2 out of the 9?
Yeah. No, I think 3. No, 2. 2. Yeah,
2.
2.
The Sixth
Little,
Sense and
little bit,
Signs.
little bit better. I mean, obviously, M Night is not our guy, and I want to say, like, I walked into this really not knowing much about this film, and when I looked at it, I saw Josh Hartnett was in it, and I'm a fan, dude. I'm a
Yeah,
fan of
I fuck
Josh
with him.
Hartnett. I mean, yeah, he does some like great like mystery thrillers, like Lucky Number 11 is a film I watch a lot. I like it. Wicker Park is like one of my favorite films. It's the reason like I made my wife go to Chicago with me is because I wanted to go see Wicker Park and actually like be there. And obviously from H2O when he had the horrible haircut. But you know, he's done some movies. And then I saw Kid Cudi was in it, and I got really nervous, Rich. I didn't
Yeah, we
know
don't
if
see
there
his
was
cock
gonna
in
be.
this one.
I didn't know if
That
there was
might have
gonna be
saved the
some
movie though.
Cudi
That
ticket
might have saved the
ca-
movie
Yeah.
if we saw his
I was
schlong. It might have
like, I was
helped.
like, I was like, here we go again, and I got a little nervous, but you know, I went in feeling pretty optimistic, and I'm just gonna like dive right in, man. I think the first half of this film was really just concert footage, which I feel like they did well,
Mm.
and but I'm not sure it was a horror film. It just felt like a publicity stunt to promote his daughter's basic pop music. And the reason I think this is not to start his daughter, which is a little, you know, we're going from busted babies to nepo babies here. It's not just because it's his daughter. It's because of the way they filmed it, and something was going on, and I couldn't figure it out, and then I did figure it out. So in the background, while Cooper is trying to like figure out like what his next move is and trying to figure out how he's going to make his escape and elude the FBI, there's like dialogue going on, there is action going on, but what they never did is they never dropped the volume of the music. So there was just dialogue just kind of going over this loud music in the background. And the music was really her music. I think her name is Salika. She's pretty popular. She's a pretty popular pop musician on her own. And maybe this is to like get her over the top. But I don't think they were trying to make it so authentic to make you feel like you're at a concert. But like honestly, when two people are in the audience and they're talking to each other in a film, you got to drop the level of the music a little bit so you could actually hear the dialogue. But it was just like the same volume, and I couldn't even hear what they were saying. I didn't really care, but I thought it was just like what is the point of this film if you're not going to develop the plot or these characters with this dialogue? You're just going to pump up this music.
I actually can't believe you said that, because watching the movie, that was all I kept thinking about, was how the only reason I think this movie was made was to promote his daughter's career. And I know he like self-funds his movies, or at least he finds the money himself and everything like that. And I think he just said like, I'm M Night Shyamalan. I could make a movie. I want my daughter's music to be really popular. I'm going to make a movie that is basically just a concert footage of her. And yeah, like you said, the way it was shot, like the way she's like featured in it, like it's so much close-ups on her face, and it's like I could totally get like there being a lot of concert footage in this, because the movie takes place at a concert, so like you would expect that. However, it literally felt like the Josh Hartnett plot of the serial killer was like the second plot. That was like the subplot. The real plot was like, let's show a concert footage of my daughter. And I'll tell you what, like, and I really, the Nepo baby thing just really gets me every time. It just bothers me. And like, maybe I shouldn't care, but it does. And it's like, you know, you didn't need to do this, right? Like, I'm sure she'll be fine. Like, she doesn't need her dad to make a movie about her. And like, But if you're going to do that, sell it like that. Be like, here's my daughter's concert movie, and then direct that. Like, you don't need to make it part of this movie. And what really annoyed me too, it's like at like the halfway point, I believe, is when they actually get out of the arena and they're going to the real world. And I'm like, finally, the music is done.
Yeah,
No
done.
more of the
Ugh.
song. Now we got plot. And they get to a house. There just happens to be a piano, and she just happens to play another fucking song. And it's like, come on. Like, I already heard like 10 songs from this woman. None of them are really good. Like, I mean, it's not my genre, but like it just seemed like mediocre pop music. And I know you said that you thought that they filmed the concert part of it great. I really didn't. I felt like it just I don't know. And maybe I'm not like into that kind of concert, but I felt like mostly it was you see the screens above her and she's really big and then she's kind of small, and they didn't really deviate from that. It was mostly like that for 40 minutes, which really annoyed me. And I think getting into like, I think this movie literally was just made for that, is the writing is really poor. There's so many implausible things that happen because I'm thinking like, oh my God, how is Josh Hartnett going to get out of this
How's he gonna
arena?
get away? Yeah.
Easy, because like he does all these nonsensical things that like never would have happened. Like, there's a really early on, he like wants to make a distraction, so he like shoves this girl down the stairs. No one saw that. There's not they're specifically looking for a killer, and no one sees this grown man shove a girl down the stairs. There's cameras everywhere. No
This
one's
is
catching this.
inundated. It's inundated with FBI and police. And of course, they're looking for a distraction. They didn't see this. It was silly. It was absolutely silly. And it was lazy writing. And speaking of like those early scenes, with Cooper, which is Josh Hartnett's character, it's like, sorry, I lost where I was going with
No,
this.
I got you. Drink
Sorry.
it. You had 8
Yeah,
drinks
I
like
just
2
had, like,
seconds ago.
7. All right, sorry. All right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
one more. That'll get your brain
Okay.
working.
So, speaking of like, like Cooper in the beginning of this, it's not causing any sort of dread, even though he's like in this really like constrictive like situation, and the net is like being pulled tighter and tighter, and the police and the FBI are getting closer to closer. Not for 1 minute did I feel any sort of tension or dread. I was just like, yeah, what's gonna happen? And it's because I don't feel anything for this character. We're just thrown right into this situation. First glance is, oh, he's a nice father. He's taking his daughter to her first concert. But they didn't build that enough. They didn't build it in like he's a great dad and his kid loves him and things like that. He has this great family life. They didn't build it like that. It was just about 2 minutes of that. And then all of a sudden, we realize that there's some sort of trap going on, and he finds out about it. And now he's not worried at all about his, daughter. He's just worried about saving himself. It just didn't play off, like I didn't care. I didn't care enough about him. I didn't care if he got away. I don't know if I was rooting for him. I don't know if I was rooting for the police. I don't know who I was rooting for. It was just misdirected, I guess, like where you don't know who you're supposed to care about or feel. And I wanted to feel for Josh Hartnett just because I liked him as an actor, but
Yeah, I was rooting for it to end. That's what I was rooting for. No, you know what? And I think it's because the stakes were never really high. And I think if this was well written, it could have been like a really cool Hitchcock type thriller, or just like he's gonna do one thing and something gets fucked up. But it wasn't. It was like literally like just dumb shit after dumb shit. Like, and I'm just gonna name like 4 of these like really ridiculous
Go ahead,
poor
do
writing
it.
things. Like, he makes friends with like a vendor, and the vendor's like going in the back room to get like t-shirts, and he lets Josh Hartnett
Yeah,
go with him, even
never.
though security's super tight and there's no one back there.
Yeah, never.
Like, there's thousands of people. How is there no one back there? There's a scene where he like stumbles into a room where all the FBI are like there,
Yes.
and he just walks in like normal and like starts acting normal, and then he steals a walkie-talkie, and like no one sees any of this. Like they're supposed to be looking for a killer. And just like even really thinking like even harder about it, the whole idea of this being a trap is a dumb idea. Like I think they say at one point there's 2,000 men in this arena.
Yeah.
They're going to like interview all 2,000 men for like 2 hours to interrogate. Like, how are they going to know? Like, they don't, like, all they know about the killer is like a few random things. Like, how are they going to like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a stupid plan.
It's a
Like,
stupid
it's
plot
not
at
gonna
all
work.
because, like, honestly, I was just at a concert a couple of weeks ago, and if someone stopped me, like the FBI or the police, I'd be like, no, and I'll just keep
Yeah.
walking. You can't stop me. You have no, you can't hold me. You can't do anything. I don't have to even answer a question. So even that part was silly, and I still think that even though that they were kind of lost on, because he's been eluding the police for years. I think he had 12 victims, and I think that was like over like 10 years or something like that. So the fact that they narrowed it down to 2,000 is still a huge number. How are you going to block every exit? How are you going to stop every single guy that walks past you? It was silly. That was dumb. But go ahead, give your other.
And how'd they even know he was
Yeah.
there? How'd they get intel? They're like, oh, by the way, this killer that we've been tracking and we have not been able to find, we just happened to find out that he
So
bought
that was the twist.
tickets to a concert.
Yeah,
But like, how would you find that out? Like, if you knew that, you'd know who he was.
Yeah,
Makes no sense.
that was the whole twist of the whole thing, and we could get into that now, or you could.
Did I miss it? Did I?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
his wife ended up being a little bit suspicious.
Oh, right,
About
right.
like,
I
the way
remember. I
he's
remember
like,
now.
yeah, been disappearing. So she kind of tipped off the FBI, saying that like she left like a clue at like the house that they raided, where they knew that he owned or something like that, like one of his houses that he went to, and she left like a receipt there, so they knew that he bought tickets to be at that concert. But I mean, honestly,
Why wouldn't she just
just
tell
be
them
like, I
that
think my
he's the
husband,
killer?
yeah, I think my husband, who is taking my daughter, like, and he's dangerous. He's taking my daughter to this concert, but yeah, we should take a look at him. So yeah, that was probably the
Stupid.
third silliest thing that happened in there. And every single thing that really happened, it didn't really make sense. It didn't come off like Cooper was like this genius, elusive serial killer who was the smartest guy in the room. He was just like a guy. He was just like a middle-aged dude, and he kept escaping like every single situation. He just kept escaping over like something stupid. And I call this like in movies, I call it like the banana peel, where just something dumb happens and they just fall, and like something,
Yeah.
and it solves a problem. So it's like there was a lot of like banana peel moments of it. Like, the police raid the house, but he had a ladder that went into the, the like an underground tunnel and into his neighbor's yard. How why was there no police in the neighbor's yard? So you're swarming in on a suspected serial killer, and his yard.
You'd shut down the whole
Yeah, his
block.
yard is 50 feet wide, so you just have the cops in the front of the house. It's
Yeah.
like,
No, this is
it's
stupid.
silly. It was silly, and he just kept escaping. And when he ended up kidnapping Lady Raven for the second time, I'm like, all right, this is getting out of hand. I'm like, this is so stupid.
Yeah, and then like once they got out of the concert venue, again, there's still 45 minutes left of the movie. I kind of tuned out at that point because I was like, this is just like dumb. Like I don't even care. And like, yeah, one more stupid bad writing thing that I just like thought of. It's like they mentioned that Lady Raven will bring one of her fans on stage for like the encore every concert, and he realizes this like a song before the last song, and his plan is to get backstage, and then he happens to tell like just some random dude that his daughter has leukemia, and she gets picked, and that's how he gets backstage. But like the concert's almost over. Like they would have picked this girl like before the concert even started. Like they wouldn't be like, "Oh, we haven't picked one yet. There's one song left. I guess it's you." Like that would never. It's like so stupid, and it just happens to be like the guy just standing around. Like you look like somebody who's in charge. Like it's just like again the whole movie. It seems like he wrote it in like literally a day.
Yeah, he was just like talking to his daughter, and he's like, "How many songs do you think you could have prepared for this soundtrack before we like launch this? Because I need like about 7 to get us through all the concert material, plus an acoustic one you got to play on the piano." Like it was just silly, and the fact that like Lady Raven went back to their house, like she put herself in danger.
Wouldn't she be terrified of like this person? Yeah.
Yeah, she knows this guy. She knows like the entire state is after this man, and she's like, no. She's like some teen like she's like, no, I'm gonna save everybody, and I'm gonna risk myself to catch this guy. It would never happen. It would just never happen. And when she gets to the house, and the fact that like no one's taking pictures or video, it's like,
Yeah.
what kind of teens are these? It's like the biggest pop star in America is in your house, and they're not taking selfies like every 2 seconds. They're just sitting there talking to her, eating cookies and stuff like that. And I'm gonna go into the only clever part of this film, and it was probably by like accident or necessity. Yeah, it's when Lady Raven warns the family. She basically tells them that this guy is the serial killer and they're after him. And she grabs like his phone or something like that. And she locks herself in the bathroom. But while she's in there, she actually like goes live and she uses social media to basically find like where the latest victim was being kept. And that's how the police were able to track down that victim and free him. And I thought that was like clever. I'm like, oh, that's great. They're using technology. They're using like a modern scenario to move along, the plot line. And I like that because I hate when films ignore technology and pretend like these things can't happen. So I like that they did that. I thought it was clever. And maybe his daughter just told him to put that in there because that's like what she would do. But
I mean, I guess, is that clever, or would it have been more clever just to call the police? Like, and like tell the police like what's happening. Like maybe they wouldn't believe her. I don't know. It just like I kind of I get what you're
yeah.
saying. Like that was like a cool like scene, but I was like, you're okay, you're posting to all these people. I don't know. Maybe that was the right idea, but yeah, I would think my instinct would be to call the police.
Worst part of the film right now, we know he's the killer. The family knows he's the killer. Everyone knows he's like this deranged serial killer that has been torturing the state for years. He stops and he decides to eat pie with his wife. Like, why the fuck would that happen? Like, why would you stop in the middle of this? Like, the FBI's after you, the police are after you, your family knows you're the killer, and the wife's like, you know what? We need to sit down and make your daughter happy and eat her pie. Like, you saw that coming a mile away. Everyone knew that it was drugged or it was something to do with how they're gonna catch this guy. But like, why would he do it? It was
No, you
stupid. It was a
wouldn't.
stupid part of the plot. He wouldn't do it. He's gonna eat pie after all that.
You he
Okay.
wouldn't have gone back to the house. Like he would have just
No, it was
ran.
stupid. It was just so stupid. And I hated it.
Yeah,
And
no.
that's really where they exposed the twist in the
Yeah,
third
great
act.
twist.
And as usual, this is one of those films where they don't do the twist right and they spell it out to us in case we're really, really dumb as a viewer. And they tell us every single detail about what the wife did and how she figured it out and what happened, and really just kind of laying out every detail of the twist ad nauseum. And I hate that. and they did it in this film. And I'm not surprised because I literally hated it. So
Yeah, no, I hated it, and like I don't tip like I think I've given a 0 to one movie, and it was the second Amityville movie. I would give this a 0. Like there's nothing redeeming about it. There's nothing good about it. And even Josh Hartnett's like he's okay in it, but he's kind of just goofy, and like it would have been great if he was more like they made him like kind of flip a switch, and now
mm,
he's in like serial killer
yeah, he's
mode
like
instead of like, because they kind of like it makes you think of like Dexter, right? Where he's kind of like this like sweet, kind of lovable guy, but then he kind of like he snaps and he becomes like that brutal killer.
and that's
And I
scary.
think if
Yeah.
they would have, yeah, and it would have made the character more dynamic. It would have given like Josh more to work with, but instead he's goofy basically the entire movie, and you don't really, I don't know. Again, like the stakes aren't high. You don't feel like any suspense really. Again, like I'm thinking going into this movie, okay, how are they gonna like how's he gonna get out? But clearly, like M Night Shyamalan didn't know because he couldn't really think of like a cool thing.
Just
Again,
put the banana peel. Just
yeah,
put that in there. He'll get out. Just have a lightning bolt come and solve the problem for you, which was what they do. Look, this was a really easy watch. I mean, there was no problem with it. It was, it was watching something. It wasn't like it was easy, but it's like background. But it's pretty fucking dumb. And it was really
yeah, it was just
misguided
dumb.
from M. Night. I'm not a huge fan of him, but usually his films bring out some sort of dread and some sort of tension or something, some sort of mystery. This didn't have any of that. It was straight trash, and he should be embarrassed. And I don't care what his intentions were, even though he thinks he's above making a good film. I'm sorry, dude, you should be embarrassed. This movie sucked, and I don't appreciate it at all, and I will absolutely never think about it again.
Yeah, and look, this is like the last time I'm actually gonna. I probably said that before, but saying it now. I'm never gonna watch another one of his movies again. I don't care what the concept is. Like, we just named like 9 that I hated out of 10, and even the 10th was like okay. Like, I'm not supporting this bullshit anymore. And this movie did bomb at the box office. Like, it did not do
Did it?
well.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what the budget was, but I mean, but yeah, it didn't do well. And I see why, because it's like you said, it's watchable. I just don't know who the audience is, and again, it could have been really cool. I think if someone else would have made it, or if they would have like spent more time like actually developing it, it could have been a really cool movie. And like, it makes me think of like a movie that you would have seen in like the 70s or 80s just based on the
Yeah,
concept,
yeah,
and that would have
totally.
been
Yeah,
like
that's
really
awesome.
high stakes. But like, it wasn't done in the 1980s. It was done now, and just wasn't very good. So yeah, I give it a 0. I hate to give that out. I don't give that out like freely, but again, I'm never gonna watch this movie ever again. Like, I was really annoyed by most of it, and it was just a disappointment. How about you?
I mean, I can't believe I'm gonna do this, but here we go. Double zeros. That's it, man.
Whoa,
No,
shit.
nothing. I don't care. I don't care. It means nothing to me. And it had a lot of hype, and they really built it up, and they made it like it was going to be a pretty sick and twisted serial killer horror film. And I'm not sure it was sick. I'm not sure it's twisted, and I'm not sure it's serial killer. And I'm 100% sure it wasn't a horror film. And I'm pissed off that I fucking watched it. And if it wasn't for this show, I probably wouldn't have watched it. But now I'm glad I watched it. So maybe like M Night, because I know he follows us. Um,
Yeah, he's listening.
do better, man. Just you got to do better. You can't put out trash and expect people to watch it. It's a 0, man. So we're not going to drink, but I think we should cheers anyway,
All right.
because that was a pretty good drinking game we just did.
Hmm. Yeah, I just don't know how you could just keep making movie after movie, and they're just none of them like, I don't know. There must be an audience for it. But like, let's move on. Let's talk about another movie. We're gonna talk about another serial killer movie, Longlegs. This one has a ton of hype coming in. I know it's just hit like not streaming, but like VOD, where you could like rent it and stuff like that. It's out of theaters. I was really excited to see this movie. I went in not knowing anything about it. I didn't pay any attention to the marketing materials. What I will say before we kind of get into this movie, it's a tough one to talk about without spoiling. And I'm gonna try not to spoil it, but I think
Okay,
we are
good to
gonna probably
know. Good to
spoil some
know.
stuff.
Okay.
I think we should try, but certain things just might pop out. And if they do, I'm, whatever. It is what it is. And I will say one thing about this movie, it does something similar that you said you hate that I hate too, when again, it just kind of they explain the whole movie to you in like the last 10 minutes. And like that, I would say out of everything in the movie, that is my one real critique. It's that they do that. Like, because the whole movie, like I'll say this, I'll get the plot in a second. But the whole movie, I was like really engaged, and like I couldn't wait to see what happens next. I was really invested. I was like, this is really different and cool and suspenseful, and there's a ton of dread and blah blah blah. And I have no idea what's happening. And then all of a sudden they just explain the entire movie to me. And I was kind of like, and again, I'm into the movie the whole way. And then when it was over, the person I watched it with was like, so what'd you think? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how I felt about it. And I do want to watch it again. And I think if I watch it again, I'll pick up on some stuff. But I remember I had no reaction. I was like, I don't know if I liked it. I don't know if I hated it. I was entertained and interested, and it's not the ending was bad. The ending was actually pretty brutal. But I still like, I was like, not sure. I was like, I don't know. Like, did I like it? Did I hate it? I definitely didn't hate it, but I'm like, did I like it? So I don't know the answer to that.
I feel that, and I get it. So I did see this film in the theater, and anyone who's ever been listening to the show knows I always have an issue. Whenever I go to
Yeah.
the theater, like something happens. I almost died once. Another time I almost got into a fight. Like there's always something going on. So this time I went to go see this film. I was very excited because it was unexpected, and it was just happened to be like a day off, and we had outdoor plans, but it started raining. So we were close by, like, oh, let's just go check out this film. So we went there to basically an empty movie theater because we didn't go see it those first couple of weeks that it was out. And I really enjoyed seeing it in the theater and on the big screen. It looked super, super cool. And then some guy came in and he sat next to me. So he was like one seat away from me. And if you watch this film, it's a slow burn. I'm not going to say it's not a slow burn.
Yeah, it's slow.
This motherfucker fell asleep. Now, I don't really care if you fall asleep. That's your money. But he started snoring really loud.
Brutal.
And now all of a sudden, in all these quiet parts during this film, this motherfucker was snoring, and I was getting really, really upset. And I was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden there'd be like a loud explosive part in the film, and he'd wake up for a second. I'm like, all right, this guy's up. I'm like, that's cool. Motherfucker, go back to sleep. And he started talking, Rich. He started talking in his sleep. And
Oh my
and
God. I would go
yeah, I
crazy.
wanted to go crazy, but I didn't want my wife to be nervous about going to the movies with me, because the
Right.
last
It was probably hard
yeah
to get her to go to
yeah
begin with.
the last time we went, I almost got into a fight because I stood up. I started yelling at people that were talking really, really loud the whole time in the movie. So I didn't want her to think I'm a person that can't go to the movies. But I just want to say that was my first experience. My second experience was at home, and I had a much different feeling about the film when I watched it again.
So did you like it better the second time? Hold on, let's take out the snoring guy. This on the rewatch, is it better? Because I do feel that on the rewatch I'll like it more because I think I'll like pick up on
Yeah,
stuff and like
exactly. I was trying to figure out too much about this film. So if you want, give the plot real quick, and then we'll just kind of jump into like, what we're trying to figure out here. Because I think I spent a lot of my time when I was watching it in the theater, I was trying to figure out exactly what's happening. Where the second time I knew what was going to happen, and I got to pay attention to the details, which really sold it for me.
yeah, I think the same because it's very mysterious and like you are trying to piece together this puzzle and yeah. So basically it follows pretty new FBI agent named Lee Harker. She's kind of like psychic, but she's a new like FBI agent and she's on the trail of an elusive serial killer. And this serial killer kills families and has been doing so over a 30-year period. But what they can't figure out is each one of the families, it usually ends up being a murder suicide, and there's really no trace of the killer there except for a coded note signed with the name Longlegs. And basically, she's just kind of tracking down this serial killer. And there's, a bunch of like, I don't want to give too much away at this yet, but yeah, it's basically her following the serial killer and tracking him and trying to figure out why this person is killing families. And there's a lot of connections to like the occult and to dates and stuff like that. I don't know. Did that like, kind of
Yeah,
do
no,
a good
yeah,
job? It's a tough
and
plot to
that's
follow.
it. Yeah, so and that's really what it is. So I mean, to me, I haven't seen a film like this probably since the 90s. And kind of like that manhunt kind of style film that used to be like really, really popular in the 90s, where basically there's a serial killer and there's like some derelict detective, and he's usually an alcoholic, and he's trying to catch him before he kills his next victim and stuff like that. This had that same exact kind of gritty feel to it. That Silence of the Lambs, Seven. I felt a lot of Seven in here. There was that movie, yeah,
Zodiac.
Zodiac, that movie Copycat, I think was like really similar to this. And right away, I kind of got sucked in. I'm like, this is a mystery. So this is definitely a horror film, but this is a mystery.
I was going
And
to ask that because is it a horror film? Because I don't know if it's a
it's a
horror
serial
film.
killer, so I would say
Yeah.
yes. I would
Would
say
you say that
yes.
like Silence of the Lambs is a horror movie? Maybe, I guess
Yes.
so. Okay.
Yes, I
All right.
would.
Because I
Yeah.
was debating that.
Yeah. And so I kind of got sucked in right away, but then I was like, oh, okay, because I knew nothing about it either when I came into it. And I was like, oh, I'm in for a mystery here. And the important thing about a mystery is it needs to be dense. It needs to keep you guessing. It needs to keep you thinking about what happens. It has to be a lot of red herrings to kind of change the way you're thinking of things. And these are all things that Trap didn't have and that this movie did have. So, right away you get sucked into like this cold, dark, snowy atmosphere. It's like Oregon in the winter. Already I'm engaged. It has like that amber lens kind of over it, that filtering that really kind of makes it feel like 80s and 90s. And I think
It
like
takes
all
place in the
this,
90s too.
yeah, like
And
the
I think they did a
sets,
great job of making it feel
that's so
that way. It
perfect.
does feel
Yeah, the
that way. Yeah.
cars, the dress, the way the
The wood
houses, yeah,
panels and stuff of the
everything. They
houses.
they
Yeah.
did everything right. It was really authentic. And so right away I got sucked in, right away. And it does open like really, really creepy, where
Absolutely. That opening scene is fucking
yeah,
terrifying.
like where we see, a child who, I don't know how far we're going to go into this, but we see a child speaking to, Longlegs, and it's just, it's creepy, and right after that, it brings us into like, modern day, and Harper is assigned a different case, and basically, we see that she has like these psychic abilities, but before we even know what the plot is of this film, when her partner knocks on that
Oh
door
man, I did
and the
not
door
expect
just
that.
opens, it's like boom, and it's like blood, guts, brains, skull everywhere. It's like we don't even know what this movie is about. And I mean, to me, that was like, oh shit. It was like you're on warning now. Now you don't know where this film is going to go. And that kept me on my toes. And then the density of the mystery, it really kept me engaged through the whole movie.
I would say the first 10 minutes of the movie, and maybe longer, but like the first like few scenes are, it's like some of the best ways to open a movie, because you got that opening scene that you just described, the scene with the FBI agent getting his head blown off. Like there's a couple of scenes right in a row, like the scene where you kind of figure out that she's kind of psychic. Like it's a vibe, and it really, like, yeah, because you're right, you still don't know what this movie is, and you're just like, but it's creepy, it's unsettling, it's uncomfortable. I think the whole way through the movie's very uncomfortable, and a lot of it is like the shots that he uses some weird shots, this director. Like it's framed very odd in certain spots. Like I hope I pronounced her name right. Micah Monroe, who
Yeah,
plays
yeah.
our Agent Harker, is like really good in this, and like, but she's like, just the way they kind of shoot her and the way she's kind of like acting, like there's something off about her. Like the whole movie, like you can't figure out what it is, but she's odd. Like and the movie is just odd, but like in a really interesting way, which keeps you again intrigued, and you really want to figure out what the hell's going on. And they do give you like little pieces at a time. Like there's lots of things that happen that are just like confusing. You know what it made me think of? Like it made me think of, I don't know if you watched it, but like first season of True Detective,
Yeah,
and kind of
yeah.
how that, it's like very similar to
Yep.
that vibe, I feel like, throughout the whole movie. And I think that takes place in, well, that's over multiple timelines, so part of it's the 90s, I think. But yeah, it made me think a lot of that. And just how that's like unsettling and creepy, and just you just don't feel right the whole way through.
I mean, a lot from what you said from there. I mean, the director, another Nepo baby. We got
Yeah, I know,
Austin
I was gonna mention
Perkins,
that.
Anthony Perkins' son from Psycho. Yeah, and he definitely took some risk with this film, and
Absolutely.
definitely some weird, interesting shots, some really long distance shots, close up shots, weird angles, blurred thing. I mean, just he just did a lot with it. And again, that just kind of like added to like, it made this film like just feel like more alive, even though it's slow. I'm not gonna lie to anyone. This is a slow burn. You're in for a long ride, but they keep it interesting with just like the camera play and all that work. And Mika Moreau, I mean, I've seen her in a lot of films and I like her in a lot of films, but I think this is
Absolutely.
her best role. I mean, she really made this her own, and she played like such an awkward, strange character that like you wanted to try to understand her. She was a difficult character to understand, and you could tell like there might have been like some trauma, or there's obviously a strained relationship with her mother. There's a lot going on. She lives alone, so
Yeah,
you
she doesn't
just
have
feel
one
like,
friend, I
yeah,
don't
she don't
think,
have
right?
anything going on. She feels very isolated, and she's completely focused on work. She's a problematic hero, tragic hero almost. But I thought she did a great job, and again, that really takes you along for the ride, because there are a lot of times, and there's long stretches where you know, the investigation work is going on and nothing is really happening. The plot isn't really moving. You're just kind of like getting hint and hint and hint and just waiting to figure out where this is going. So I thought she did great. So yeah, I thought she really helped the film.
Yeah, and I mean, in talking about acting, it's like we have to talk about Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And what a fucking fucked up performance. And Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage, right? You just don't know what you're gonna get, but holy shit, like he's like nightmare fuel in this. And it's everything from the way they, like, his makeup. It's like I've never seen a character look like that before. Like it doesn't look like Nicolas Cage at all. Like
No, it
you
doesn't
know
look
it's
like him at
Nicolas Cage
all.
because you
Yeah.
know Nicolas Cage, and like kind of his mannerisms, but like the way he plays this character, I have never seen a villain or any character act, speak, or just like, it's so different than anything I've ever seen before. And he's fucking terrifying. And he's not in the movie a ton. and he doesn't really kind of come into like towards the end basically, but when he is in the movie, it's like holy shit. Like, and there's like I always read this online, is that Micah Monroe did not see his makeup until they did the interrogation scene.
Oh, wow.
And apparently, like, they tracked her heartbeat and it like spiked up from 76 beats per minute to 170 and
Wow.
stayed that way the whole way. And I think they used her heartbeat in like the marketing materials, but she was so freaked out by like how he was playing it that she had a visceral reaction to it. And I believe it, because that scene in particular, where, and it's not giving away anything, like she interrogates him at some point, it's terrifying. Like, he's fucking scary.
The coloring, and he's almost like washed out, you know? It's not even like he's almost not even a person.
He doesn't look
It's
like a
hard.
human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard, and it's jarring and strange, and his dialogue is cringy and weird, and it makes you uncomfortable, even though it has nothing to do with you. Just as a viewer, you're like, I'm really uncomfortable right now. And that scene where he walks into like that hardware store
Oh
and
God,
just has
yeah.
like that little interaction with, like, you know, the young girl who was like the sales clerk. It was just like, this guy is out on earth dealing with people and going to stores and you know, having interactions, and this is what it must be like all the time. It is hard. It was hard to watch, and you're just like, oh my God, I feel bad for that person, and imagine dealing with this. And I mean, that's him, you know. That's Nicolas Cage, and the fantastic job I think he did playing this serial killer, which he's been in some fucked up movies before, but I don't think he's ever played this type of character, which, I mean, it was crazy.
Well, he's actually never played a serial killer before, and he says he never will again,
Why?
probably because he did this so well. But I think it's something to do with, he said this is like, he doesn't like violence, he doesn't want to kill people. I mean, that's
What about
obviously
Mandy?
bullshit. Yeah, I know it's all bullshit, but and again, it's probably just marketing too. But that's like what he said. I'm sure, like, you know, I don't believe anything these people
What's
say.
that movie he did with David Caruso where he was like beating everyone to death? I
Oh,
forgot.
Jade, right? I think it was
No, it
Jade.
was Jade. It was
Oh no, no, I know the movie you're talking about. I seen it years ago. It was
yeah,
like,
I can't think. It's
yeah,
really old, really early
it wasn't Jade,
90s.
but it was the
But
one before that.
again, he's pretty violent in that too. So I think he's
Face
lying.
Off. I
Yeah,
know. Yeah,
yeah,
he's full
face.
of
So I
shit.
think he's
Yeah.
lying, but I think he did a great job this time.
Yeah. The one thing I'm going to say about this movie too is it is predictable in certain ways, but even when it's like predictable and you're like, oh, I saw that coming, the way they do it is still impactful. Like, I'll say like the ending, like you knew like that something like that was going to happen, with the other detective, her partner. Like, you just knew early on, like, oh, I bet you the climax is going to happen with his family, but it still was like fucking intense and brutal. And there's a few things like that too that are, again, predictable, but you still are like, holy shit. Like, so I think, I don't, again, they did a really good job in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think they kept me guessing. I mean, you felt like it was kind of building up to some sort of crescendo with her partner. Didn't really see any other reason why he was in the film. He wasn't adding much. He was just kind of supporting, you know, her. And give that to like the density of the plot. You know, you have this troubled detective. You see that she is a psychic, so it's adding a layer. Now she's tracking this serial killer that the police couldn't find. And but it's not just a serial killer. There's like some sort of like cult like happenings going on. And then they bring in like some supernatural stuff. And then, you know, they bring in the twist, and it all kind of adds up. It had me, you know. I wouldn't have guessed the way it did end. I was just surprised. And if you want to know, to me personally, did the slow burn set fire? Yes, I think it did. I think it catches fire at the end, and it leaves you in like a kind of like a holy shit. Like, what happened? Like, personally, that's how I felt. Even the second time I watched it, I was like, what the fuck, man? That was sick. And I think that just goes to like really good, you know, writing and acting.
Yeah, and again, the last, I would say, half hour of the movie, even though, again, they do the thing that we hate where they
Yeah.
explain everything in detail. Once like they get to that point, it's like intense and brutal, and like there's certain things that happen that are you're floored. You're just like, oh fuck. And like, yeah, I don't I like, it made me like speechless in a way. And maybe that's why at the end of it I couldn't have an opinion as to like whether I liked it or not. Because I was just kind of like, maybe it just affected me that much where I was just
Emotionally
like,
drained. Yeah, it
yeah,
takes
yeah.
it takes a little piece, I think, especially the first time because you're just like fucked up.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think I was just fucked up and I was like, I couldn't even process what I just saw, which, like if you could do that, fucking, you did something good, you know?
I mean, yeah, I mean that makes it a good film, and I just want, I'm not going to give away the twist. I'm not going to do anything like that. But what I just want to say is, I think at certain points this was a complicated storyline, and it did move across different timelines and different characters. I think they did need to almost spell it out because I feel like some, I don't want to sound like a dick here, but I feel like some people might have missed a lot of those details that kind of led up to that. So they needed kind of like that reiteration right at the end. So just kind of let you know like why all this is happening because it does get pretty complicated at certain
I
points.
think I missed it,
And
to be honest with you, because I was like,
yeah,
wait, what?
that's
Like, I
yeah.
mean, it made sense, but I was also like, I didn't see that coming. Like certain things I was like, oh, okay. Like I didn't see that.
Yeah. The second time I watched it, I was annoyed that they spell it out a bit, but the first time I was like, oh yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. I'm
needed
like,
that. I did need
I
that.
feel like I'm like, oh, I get it. So I did feel like I needed it. So yeah, I will let them off the hook this only time because this was a complicated plot, something like Trap, which is this very A to B. You don't need to spell it out. This went from A to Z and everything in between, and it was a lot of kind of diverging points and a lot to figure out. And if you miss something, maybe you didn't catch it. So I'm letting off the hook this time.
Yeah, and again, I think like why I asked, is this like a horror movie? Because I think like now that I've seen it, like I'm kind of looking at how they're marketing it, and they're marketing it as like this really scary kind of movie. And like, so what I will say is, to me, like, I don't want to say it's scary. Like there's no jump scares, which is a good thing, right? There's no, like, not a lot of gore. Like there is like some like intense, brutal things that happen, but like it's not scary, but it's fucking ridiculously creepy and affecting. Like, so I guess it just defines a horror movie in a different way, right? Because like, again, like,
So so I'm gonna disagree with you there because I did go to the theater with my wife, and I gotta tell you something. She was sinking down in her seat. She
okay,
was scared,
maybe we're just desensitized.
yeah, we're a little desensitized. If you see, we just named 5 movies like this. I don't think my wife could have named 5 movies like this. So, we're more used to it. So, um, I think maybe some of the dread might come out that way. But I mean, she was scared and she kind of like yelped in a few scenes that kind of like like in a scare kind of thing or something that was unexpected that happened. She like either jumped or kind of let out a little yelp, and I'm not calling her out because she wasn't the only one in the theater, that did that. People did get scared.
I mean, look, it is something that would give you nightmares. So I guess that means it's scary and it's a horror movie because it's, yeah, and a lot of it again is Nicolas Cage. A lot of it is just like how it's presented. So okay, I give you, I would agree with you now. And it's interesting. Like the more I'm talking about the movie, the more I'm kind of realizing I liked it more than
Yeah.
after I saw it. Like I'm gonna, if you have more to say, we can keep going. I'm gonna give this movie a rating. But what I am going to do is I'm going to watch it again, and then I'm going to give an updated rating. And on the next episode, we're going to drink to that updated rating also.
Okay. I agree with that. And we could give our ratings, but I do want to ask you one question. And this is going to lead to a little something here that I got planned. So, do you know who put out this very artsy noir horror film?
Neon.
Neon, right? Do you think Neon is kind of like the next A24 with the types of films that they're putting out?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say Neon is like a lower budget A24. And I think this movie being such a big hit, like I think it did like 70 million at the box office, cost 10 million to make. I think they're going to be making bigger splashes. But yeah, they've had a lot of movies that are really just bizarre and artsy. I think they did like the last Cronenberg movie. But they're doing a lot of stuff, and like they're like a company now that like if they put something out, I'm probably gonna watch it. Kind of like how it was with A24, where like you just want to check out what they're doing. So yeah, I would say that they are kind of right now they're a slightly lower budget A24, and that's only because A24 just got bigger. But they're very similar vein, and yeah, I love the stuff they're doing there. So I'm definitely I'm gonna watch what they put out.
Great.
Sure.
I'm glad you got to watch what they put out because I have a little drinking game planned right now.
Let's finish strong. All
We're
right.
gonna finish strong and then we'll give our ratings.
All right,
And
let's do it.
This is a really simple drinking game, and it probably won't go in my favor as usual.
We both got fucked on the last one,
yeah,
though. I will say the M Night Shyamalan game. We both
I
took a
think this
beating.
might be a little more difficult than I think it will be. You could be familiar with Neon, you could be familiar with A24, but it's the Neon or A24 drinking game.
Oh, I
is
think I'm
what
gonna
it
kill you on
is.
this one. I think I'm gonna do really well.
Yeah, all right,
Yeah.
we're gonna find out. So basically, I have a list of films here. Some are from Neon and some are from A24, and all you have to do is say if it's from Neon or A24. If you get it right, I drink. You get it wrong, you drink. So again, I could get killed here, but I feel like I got a nice mix of films here. So, and for me, some of them are tough. So we're gonna find out. So for anyone playing along with us, you could choose Rich or myself. If you want to get drunk, probably choose.
Yeah. I have a feeling I'm gonna
But
go undefeated on this one, but let's try it.
undefeated, undefeated. Okay, so you know the rules, right? You just have to say Neon or A24.
Got it.
Okay, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, men.
A24. Which I hated that. We talked about that movie, yeah.
Yeah. Neon Demon.
A24.
Neon.
Is it really? Oh shit! Never mind. My undefeated streak is gone after the second one.
Here we go. Let's go.
Damn, that was a trick question.
All right.
And I love that movie too.
Listen, I think I got a good mix.
Okay, all right. I am just been humbled.
Here we go.
Humbled in
Parasite.
front of millions of people. What'd you say, Parasite?
Yeah,
That's Neon.
it is Neon. Okay, comes one of my favorite films, Climax.
I'm gonna say Neon.
A24.
Damn! Wow. All right. I thought I was smarter than I am.
No, I told you. I think I picked some good films.
Damn. Okay.
All right. Here's something I watched during COVID because there was nothing else, and I wish I never watched it. Titan.
Oh, that's Neon. Yeah, that was a tough one. That was that's one that like the first half of it I thought were great, and then it just completely becomes a different movie. It's
rough.
like oh, that was a hard one to finish.
Yeah, I think I had COVID actually when I watched it. So I want to puke when I was.
I think the movie gave me COVID actually.
I was like, what am I watching? This is horrible. All right, here we go. Ready? Enter the Void.
I'm gonna say Neon.
Neon, yeah. Good.
Oh shit. Okay.
Okay, In Fabric.
Neon.
A24, and that's a fucked up film, man.
I wanted to watch it. I just never got around to it.
Oh, it's rough. I don't want to tell you anything about it. It has a one scene, and you'll tell me about it when you watch it. Just like I guess like all A24. All right, so this is a film that was called a prequel of Longlegs. So I haven't seen it, but I'm interested now. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but Blackcoat's Daughter.
So I watched half of it and I turned it off, but now I want to watch it again. And I believe that's A24.
A24, yeah.
Yeah, now I got to give that a rewatch. There's a reason why I stopped watching. I think I got bored, but I should try it again.
All right. There's a group of people that would say this is my top 5 film coming up here. Green Room.
A24.
It is A24 and it is in my top 5.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I'm getting low on bourbon. Pig.
That's Neon.
It is Neon, you motherfucker.
And I think that's why they got Nicolas Cage, because he was the lead in that. I mean, Nicolas Cage for Longlegs, I mean.
Just a couple more here. I need to
all right.
Work it out here. It Lives Inside.
I didn't even heard of that one. I'm going to say Neon.
It is Neon. Wait, how do you guess it right? All right, this is a new film I watched recently, and I actually liked it. What Kristen Stewart. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but Love Lies Bleeding.
Oh, I want to see that. Is that good?
Yeah.
That's A24, but is that good?
A24, yeah.
Yeah. It's on my list. I want to check that out.
Well, you did pretty good. I think you only got 3 wrong.
Okay, all
So
right.
that's at least I think that's a C plus or a B,
C plus. I'll
but
take a B minus.
maybe like a B minus. It's somewhere around there. I don't feel like doing the math, but yeah, you probably got like a 72 on this test. So
Okay, passing.
yeah, it's passing. So that was pretty good. So yeah, that was the Neon or A24 drinking game, but it just goes to show how close that these two film houses are, and they are coming out with some great stuff. And I think ultimately Neon is going to pass them, because I think A24 is just trying to be too A24, and Neon is really pushing the envelope like they did with Longlegs here, which I thought was a great movie. So I'm ready to rate it, and we can wrap
Yeah, what
this
do you
up.
give it? What do you give it?
So I really like this. I liked it the first time, and if you ask me if I watched it the first time, I gave it a 3 because I was distracted by that guy snoring. It ruined like the important moments of this film where silence played a character. Watching it again, I'm gonna go up from there, but I'm not gonna go to 4. Not yet. It's not. I'm giving it 3.5. I really liked it. I'm probably gonna watch it again. Maybe the next time I watch it, it goes up. But I really liked it. 3.5.
I'm actually going to give it a 3.5 too. And
Oh,
even though after it was over, I was kind of unsure. There was just so many things about it that I did like, and I think, like you said, I think the reason why I was kind of like, I don't know, is because I think I was just emotionally drained afterwards. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 also. So, I know we didn't explain what our drinking game is, but fuck it, like everybody out there, if you got a cup in your hand, drink for 3.5 seconds right now, baby. Cheers.
do it. Cheers.
Ah,
What is this? Episode
this
15,
is, I think this
16?
is 16.
16. So if no one knows the drinking game by now, we failed as hosts. But yeah, I mean, this was a great episode. Had a really good time with Kasper Meltedhair earlier on. Definitely
Yeah,
check
Casper was
out her
awesome.
film. Yeah, we got to get her back on to drink with us, because if you didn't hear, she grew up in Kentucky, and she knows a lot about bourbon. So we want to add that to our show as much as we can. But
Hell yeah. So
Rich,
what are we doing next? What's the next
I
episode?
think you know. We got we got something really exciting coming on.
Oh, is next week Jamie Greffy's coming back?
Jamie Greffy's coming back, and
All right, fan favorite.
we're gonna do the most divisive Halloweens ever created. We're gonna do Halloween 3, 4, and 5 with Jamie Greffy. And
Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be super fun.
and
We're gonna get hammered.
It's gonna be a wild night.
I'm gonna call up from work the next day,
I gotta
because the
make
last time Jamie
sure.
was here was a
Yeah.
fucking mess.
Yeah, I gotta make sure it's gonna be like another Josh kind of night.
It's gonna be
I
bad.
need to recover and make sure I don't have to go into the office. But yeah, that's on deck.
All right, cool. All right, well, everybody have a good night. You could follow us on Instagram at horrorheadspodcast, or email us your love and hate at horrorheadspodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, that's it, man. I'm feeling it.
Let's give him that ASMR, and let's
all right,
roll out with
cheers.
this. Cheers.
All right, have a good night, everybody. Peace.
Cheers.